Welcome to the Business Growth Spotlight, where we shine the light and talk with business leaders from all over the world to share their insights and expertise so we can all grow together. I'm Heidi, your host and the co-founder of the Spotlight to Scale Accelerator, where we drive revenue for companies by making sure they're seen as the authority and go-to expert in their industry versus just another product or service. And today I have a special guest. I'm excited to chat with him because this company does things a little differently. So I'm excited to go deeper into our conversation that we've been chatting about behind the scenes. So I'm joined by Tyler Van Horn with Cairn Leadership. So welcome, Tyler, to the show.
Hey Heidi, thanks so much for having me. Glad to be here.
I'm very excited to have you here. Let's kick it off with, can you give us a little insight into who you are, your company, and your role within it?
Right, yeah. I grew up in Seattle, Washington, was fortunate to have a family that was like really outdoor oriented. Grew up skiing and hiking and backpacking in the Cascades. Um, Went off and joined the Army for college, like was able to get into a military academy and graduated in 2001, which was a real interesting time to join the service in our nation's history, but served for 20 years there as an infantry and special forces officer. Was privileged to serve with some very high performing teams throughout my career. Uh, Half midway through my career, I had the opportunity to go back and teach at West Point, to teach in the strategic studies department.
Mm.
And that's important because like when I retired, I'm like, well, I don't really know what I'm meant to do now that I'm released back into the wild, when I
Mm.
transitioned out of the service. Um, but on reflecting back to what things in my life had been most meaningful to me, it was, being in the outdoors. It's like very, very meaningful. But also that teaching, like that year I got to teach there at the academy was like incredibly valuable for me in terms of my growth and then seeing like the impact that you can have on folks' lives. So as I transition out, it's like figure out like how do you put those things together and start exploring that space with particularly with leadership development and trying to use some experience that I had in leading high performing teams and being around those types of organizations. And through networking, was connected with Cairn Leadership Strategies, and Knight Campbell, our founder, was a naval aviator, flew helicopters off of aircraft carriers and all kinds of cool stuff like that, and had founded the company after a similar experience teaching midshipmen at the Naval Academy, teaching leadership, and seeing that in just one weekend out in the mountains, the students were getting, like just as much growth as they were across an entire semester,
Wow.
because of that experiential aspect. So that, seeing the company's mission really resonated with me, and where we use outdoor experiences as a catalyst for like super high quality team and leader development. And so, yeah, that's what we do. If you're a business that is looking for like, hey, like our team is doing really well, we perform well, but we want to take it to the next level. What kind of things can we do? This isn't something where we're going to go have fun together and that's it. We will have a good time, but it's also not something where we're going to sit in a conference room and go through PowerPoint slides. That's not where leadership is learned. It's learned by experience and following an experiential learning cycle. And so yeah, so we'll insist that like you get outside, practice some things, reflect, and then have some accountability for like how are you going to change how you show up Monday when you're back in the office? How are you going to do things differently because of the things that you learned out here? And so yeah, like I've really enjoyed my time here at Cairn, and balancing between doing the thing and running a small business. It's a lot to learn.
Well, thank you for giving us some insight into your background and Karen. And you had mentioned businesses, that's who you work with. So if for the leaders listening to you right now, what would be a business that would be a fit to work with you? What type of business?
Yeah. So like the ideal type of client is like one like very mission oriented and very values oriented for the company, and recognize that there are things more than just operational efficiency that drive your bottom line. things like employee engagement, employee retention, um, employee commitment, things like that are uh, contributors to your business's growth. So, so that's one. It's like you just kind of have to have that fundamental recognition that, uh, like micromanagement or tweaking cogs here and there are not what the only thing that can help grow your business. But, recognition that investing in my team, investing in my leaders is something that can help grow the business.
Mm.
The ideal size for us is usually somewhere between 50 to maybe 200 folks. We'd like to say a business that has stratified leadership at the point where you have frontline leaders, maybe some managers and directors and executives up top, and maybe a HR department, but you don't have like that HR department's probably like one or two folks that are like busy doing recruiting, hiring, onboarding, payroll, benefits, like they're doing all the things. But the company recognizes the need that like we have to look at succession management. We have to look at developing our leaders as they move up in the company. And how do we do that? Cairn Leadership can come in and help with that. So it's not just like go do an experience. It's we can help you implement a leadership development program across the company. So someone who's looking for that type of thing in their company is the type of person that we want to work with. If you don't think that that type of thing is important, then like
It's not a match.
happy to pass you on to a consultant that's going to talk through operations strategy with you or something like that.
Yeah, we'll find you the right fit, but it's not you guys, and that's okay,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So Cairn Leadership emphasizes leadership development. You had mentioned or shared with us that, leadership's not going to be learned in the boardroom, in the conference room through PowerPoints. So how you all, like I said, emphasize leadership development through outdoor experiences and adventures. So how does this experiential approach enhance leadership skills compared to the traditional classroom-based training?
Yeah. Great question. And so like we do have a lot of, we'd call it academic rigor behind what we do. So research backed curriculum on communication, on trust, on psychological safety, what it is and what it isn't, emotional intelligence, how that applies at the individual level and at the team level. And on in working with us, what you'll do is you'll be introduced to those concepts. You'll experience them together with your team out as you move between campsites or as you're rock climbing or canoeing down the Shenandoah River. You'll be introduced to concepts, you'll practice those while you're out doing the thing, and then get a chance to reflect on them afterwards. Like, how did that work, that communication exercise that we just did? Where we think that this is more impactful than I saw some slides in a conference room on emotional intelligence is that connection with you actually did it and then you had to reflect on it. So, the seeing like, I heard it and I forgot it, I did it and I understood it is really what we're trying to get at. And yeah, like so we'll encourage folks to work on those skills. We do diagnostics ahead of time, assessments to figure out where teams are strong and where they have opportunities for growth, both on the collective level and as individuals. And we'll, propose to our clients, two or three topics like, here's the things that we think that you could work on. Our guides are all business leaders themselves, and they also have the technical qualifications and the passion for teaching and leading in the outdoors to do these engagements on the side. So they're also folks that are working through team and leadership problems on their own in their own companies, whether it's a logistics manager for a nationwide coffee company or a senior technical program manager for a nationwide logistics company. They also have those exact same experiences that your team that comes out with us is working through right now. So you'll get like really relevant interaction with the guides. And as they may notice that, hey, we thought we were going to talk about communication, but we're noticing that psychological safety hasn't even been established in this group yet. And so we're going to lean into working on that. So as you work together with the guides, they'll be able to kind of pivot and hone in on the things that are most important and most relevant to you. And then follow up with accountability afterwards. We will follow up a month later, 3 months, 6 months later. How are things going? What are you using that you learned, and how's that working for you? Because again, this isn't just like a fun experience that we had. We're in the business of making change happen.
I'm going to share with of everyone who's listening. When Tyler came onto the camera, I was just like, "Oh, this like he's dressed in a long sleeve shirt with his Cairn little jacket, not little, but jacket on," and I was just like, "Oh my gosh, this looks like such a fun company." But you also like get the job done, so it's like very incorporates fun with leadership and with a specific goal in mind. And so you had mentioned trust, and that's really important in organizations. And I know that's a piece that can start deteriorating within teams. So highlights the importance of character and competence in building team trust. Can you elaborate on how leaders can effectively assess and develop these qualities within their own teams?
Yeah. My take is it all like I'm a big fan of Brene Brown. Like it comes
Yeah.
down to vulnerability and willingness to be vulnerable. I also agree with Brene Brown to the degree that I understand. What she's put out is that vulnerability without boundaries is chaos. So an effective leader knows how to share their vulnerabilities, their places where like, hey, this is where I need help. These are the limits of my ability, and do that in a way that is motivating to the team, and that then allows the team to speak up and say, this is where I need help. This is where I have an opportunity for growth. And to say, hey, my teammate said they needed help here, and that's something that I think I can help with. And so it's that initial vulnerability. I think it's the leader's responsibility to lead with vulnerability from the start, to model that for the team, and that gives the team permission to open up and be more honest about where they're at with challenges that they're having. And you can contrast that with say a leader who is not interested in showing any weakness. Uh, I'm sorry, you're human. You've got strengths and weaknesses. If you aren't willing to show them, your team isn't going to be willing to show them. You are not going to be able to lead your team if you don't know their strengths and weaknesses, and you have to wait for results to see those strengths and weaknesses. When folks can feel comfortable communicating ahead of time about that, you're going to move so much quicker towards growth.
Yeah. So you had mentioned too that you work with the specific types of business that you work with, but they can be diverse, right? So how does Cairn Leadership tailor its programs to meet the unique challenges of different organizations and industries that you work with?
Yeah, for sure. So like there's kind of the assessment ahead of time to figure out what domains in both the collective teamwork category and individual leadership category that we'd like to work with. And then we would propose activities that complement those domains. I mean, like it it sounds extreme, I imagine, for many people who haven't done it before, but rock climbing is not a particularly extreme activity, especially in the environments that we take clients where you're just getting introduced to it for the first time. But being pushed, that just a little bit outside your comfort zone there is a great place to demonstrate vulnerability, to demonstrate trust in your teammates, to learn about communication when you are belaying each other with the ropes. And communication really matters while you're doing that. So like we'll propose an activity that we think complements the domains where we think a client is best primed for growth. But then there's like working it out. It's like, hey, regionally we're a Pennsylvania-based company, and Ohio State Park is nearby for us. That's accessible. What can you do there? So we'll work with the company based on where they're able to travel. Um, I love working with remote teams that are spread all over and that are willing to all come together to one location,
Mhm.
because then we can, like, the world's your oyster. We did a
Yeah.
great trip with a team on Catalina Island last summer. And we love going to Catalina Island. I mean, one, it's a beautiful place off the coast of California, but you get to see buffaloes as you hike across the island, and then
Wow.
sharks as you sea kayak down the side of the island, um, all in one trip. But folks came from Australia, Ireland, London, and across the U.S. This team came together to Catalina. So,
Wow.
depending on domains we team wants to work on, where they want to go, what activities they think might be most appropriate. We have worked with teams that have had concerns about accessibility. It's like, well, like we're not going to go hanging off, like a icicle, doing ice climbing, mountaineering. Great. We'll take you to an arboretum in Maryland, and just that walk through nature and talking about awe and giving yourself space for awe can foster an environment where growth can happen. So like we do like meeting folks where they're at, but we will make suggestions for like, hey, we think this would really work well for you.
Yeah. I can imagine you're seeing an uptick or an increase in virtual teams too, with so many more companies going virtual or hiring virtual. I spoke with one leader and he specifically said he's like I love I hire more virtual because I want specific talent where I may not find that talent in my backyard, but it might be virtual. Is it a little more challenging in ways? Yes, but it's a at the end of the day they're getting the talent that they want. So I can imagine that you're seeing that on your side too.
100%. And I think I can relate to leaders who want, return to office and like want everybody in the building together. There's something special that happens in physical presence. I also think that remote work and remote collaboration is 100% a skill that can be developed. It does take a lot of trust when you aren't able to walk down the hallway and see what folks are up to, but developing that skill and learning how to communicate, um, we think is super important. And we think a time where a team can come together and focus on each other and focus on how they want to work together is a great thing for remote teams to do, uh, in order to be more effective when they then go back out to where they are in the world.
Can you share a client, you don't have to say their name, but like an experience that you had where you took them, like what the challenge was, or at the beginning and the process, and then what the result was at the end?
Yeah, I think I'll come back to this group that we took out to Catalina Island, which just so much fun. Is already a very, very high performing team in a very high growth industry. And they had grown quite a bit through acquisitions. So there were companies had been bought, and now the 12 folks in the executive leadership team had come from different cultures and different companies. Some of them had been founders themselves, and they really needed to quickly gain alignment, quickly like get to know each other really well. They had never met in person before, but
Mm,
this is a $400 million company that was looking to double its revenue in the next year. Uh, and so they super motivated to like, this team is already very high performing. We want to get some alignment so we can take it to the next level. And so 3 days backpacking across the island together, encountering various challenges from, like I've never slept in a tent before, to boy, it's like really hard walking all the way up this hill, but then being able to communicate and collaborate together, um, across 5 days, and learning skills along the way for team decision making styles. Like at what point do you need to be directive? At what point do you need to go build consensus?
mm,
Two totally different ends of the spectrum when it comes to making decisions, and there are right times to do both of those.
yeah.
So and helping the team build a common language was something that was really special to see, where like as they're walking away, they're talking, uh, they gain that alignment, and they're using the same language when they're talking about how they're going to make decisions, um, how they're going to communicate, and understanding like everybody's own user manual. Like if you're here's a hot tip. If you're a small, medium-sized business out there and you haven't made a user manual for yourself as a leader that outlines how you like to be communicated with, what your kind of pet peeves are, what things you're most interested in seeing from, your direct reports. Like 3 or 4 page user manual for like, hey, this is how I work. Uh, Super useful for folks that work for you to have that, and super useful for you to have that for folks that work for you. So just better understanding of how each other work can be very helpful. So things like that developed over the course of 5 days working together, and that's an example of one of our longer trips.
Yeah.
Typically, it's 1 to 3 days together, but um, rapidly gained that alignment, common language, and able to kind of spread back out across the world and continue to grow. It's been exciting to see where they've gone since our trip.
Wow. Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that journey and that experience. Sounds extremely pretty awesome. I'm just gonna say.
It was super cool.
Um, so, when it comes to growing business, if we could talk about business growth now and what you all have seen throughout your business growth, you'll hear businesses always need to look at their numbers, look at their metrics, look at what's working and what's not working. So, can you share what metrics or feedback mechanisms that you use to assess the effectiveness of your leadership development programs?
Yeah, so follow on is like we had that initial assessment. We have follow on assessments that we'll send out to just like, hey, let's get a kind of diagnostic check of where folks are at. We'd
Mhm.
like to show like, hey, there's been growth in these areas. With clients where we have um, a more involved program other than kind of a discrete event. Like right now, we're working with a client where we, like, at the beginning of year, we have an event together. We'll have an event mid-year, and we're still working on Q3, Q4 times, but we'll have coaching and diagnostics between that to work on specific things that came up during the events to help provide feedback. And so, like, we'll develop a report that show like, this is where y'all were, this is where you are now. So you kind of get the from and to. It's incredibly difficult to tie that to typical um, bottom line KPIs. Um, we think that there's ways that you can do it, especially like if you look at it like longitudinally, like over a long period of time, kind of like I mentioned before, retention, engagement, commitment, things like that. Uh, and we're also interested in building a system where, hey, sometimes one of your directors, their family member's going to get sick and they're going to have to move in with their parents to take care of their parents in their old age. And that's going to happen. And they might have to leave your team to do that. Turnover will happen. But what system do you have in place where the next director that you bring in is able to rapidly integrate with the team? They have a system to fall in on where, like, hey, here's the user manual for each of my direct reports. I fill out my user manual, they have it. Now we're speaking the same language. What kind of systems like that do you have in place? So like we can look at, before we didn't have a system, we kind of had some onboarding, 30, 60, 90 day uh, tasks to knock out or things like that. But we're interested in developing that, like that leadership and that teamwork system for folks. So that's another from and to that we get to. But yeah, this is the challenge. It's like folks are like, well, like, how do I measure the ROI of this? And I'm like, well, maybe you can't. Oh, we had one client that said, like, I don't care, you can't measure it. But if you
Yeah,
don't think it's important, then you don't get it. I'm like, well,
right.
I don't disagree with you, but that doesn't always fly when you're talking with folks that are looking at investing in a system like this.
Yeah. Well, so you mentioned challenge, but what other challenges have you seen in your growth? Like for example, marketing challenges. How are you getting in front of these companies? And like what challenges have you all had and how have you overcome them?
Yeah. So one key piece has just been kind of the evolution of the company through the years. It started as a uh, more of an executive networking group that, where folks joined the executive networking group kind of through a subscription model and would go do these types of things together, talk about important things, and then provide mutual support from there to open enrollment, where we would run regular events through the year and individuals from all over could come participate, to now where we're most interested in, and I'm like really excited about this evolution where we're at now, is specifically working with a team of folks that has to go back to the office together and implement lessons learned together instead of individuals kind of going back out to their own places in the world. So that evolution has been interesting to see.
Mm.
Some marketing challenges that we have are like explaining exactly what we do it's hard to not get caught up in the like, well, this is just a fun team building thing that like we're just going to go have a good time together. Yes, you will have a good time together. We also think there's a lot of like we'd say academic rigor behind it and research um, behind what we're doing that shows how it will actually change your team dynamics rather than just, hey, you remember that one cool thing we did? It's remember that one cool thing we did, and now how we do things differently in the office after that. So that's one is showing that there's like more, like I don't know if seriousness is the word to it, but we're interested in learning and growth. We're not as interested in just having a good time. We can go out and have a great time together in the outdoors, but we want to tie it to meaningful growth and change. So communicating that is challenging. A lot of folks will see like mountains, rock climbing. Like I'm not sure it not for everyone. Um, some for some folks, like we'd rather not do that. We have other activities we'd rather do. Thumbs up. But like I don't see that as much of a marketing challenge as just like the right fit because like not every product is for every person or for every company. And but yeah, like explaining how those things actually connect to changes that you'll see in the office is it's kind of tough because you want to lean into like this is really cool and really fun and a great time. It's like, okay, like I don't got time for fun and a great time. Like I've got metrics that I have to meet. Yep. We'll get your team aligned and
Mhm.
they're going to be able to move so much quicker towards those, whatever KPIs you have for your business when you have trust, communication, established. You're all speaking a common language. You all understand the mission, vision, values of your company inside and out. Because we'll dive into that as well. Many companies have them. I don't, my sense is not as many understand them as they could. So yeah, they're trying to communicate the gravitas of what we do is challenging.
Yeah, I guess it all comes down to the messaging. But I like just talking with you and learning more about what you do. I think it's phenomenal. And we're not at the place to work with you with 50 to 100 people. But once we get there, like I think there's nothing better than bringing your team together and creating a cohesive, close culture and other. Just like speaking with you, other leaders I've spoken with, culture is one of the big things that they've spoken to that is irreplaceable when it comes to business growth because in order to provide for your clients you need to have that culture starting from within, just like being a leader, it doesn't start from the outside, it starts from you and working on you first and then spreading
Yeah.
that leadership to everyone else, and you all create that culture and that environment, and companies need that. And I think if more companies leaned into that, they'd be more successful faster, or just more successful in general. I think what you all do is powerful.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I think, let's see, 12th, 13th, tomorrow, we're taking out, like, this is happening in San Diego. So, like, Knight, the founders based in San Diego, is taking out a team of 5 folks. It's a five person enterprise. And I think one of their independent contractors is coming along with the team as well. But so that's a 5 person team company that's going out with us. So we will work with folks of all sizes, but yeah, like ideally it's in a place where, hey, we know we need this to grow to the next level, or
Yeah.
we just went through a merger, kind of like mergers or acquisitions where like we need to get alignment quickly. We cannot waste time trying to figure stuff out. Like we can make that happen quick. It makes a difference.
Yeah. So as we progress through 2025, because we're at the beginning of it as we're recording this, what specific strategies are you implementing to enhance Cairn leadership and your growth and visibility in the market?
Yeah, so marketing efforts that we're working on, we are re continuing to refine our assessments, our diagnostics. That's something that's our own, intellectual property that like we're super proud of how it's been developed and over the 7, 8 years that the company's been around, how we've been able to continually refine that. There are all kinds of diagnostics out there. We like ours. So we're continuing to refine those, and then we want to start making those available to folks that haven't been clients yet. So that's, like a little bit of a marketing tool, but it's also something of value that we can offer folks out there. So we're really excited about getting those to the point where it's not just, hey, once you have signed up with us, now you can start using these tools, but folks can start using those tools ahead of time. As like I'm responsible for marketing in the company, so that's something where like I'm really excited to be able to have something of value to offer to others. Knight is working through his PhD right now in at the University of San Diego. So like a lot of it is based on the research and everything that he's doing there. So that's one cool thing that we have coming up. And then like also like taking a look at what, like what partnerships make sense with folks. Like often companies are not looking to just change one thing, like, hey, like if we could just get our leadership figured out, then we're going to be good to go. Maybe there's several things that are changing at once, and a operations and strategy consulting firm is working with them. They would also like some help on the people side for that change management. So we're looking at partnerships there as well, where we could potentially move into different areas other than just like kind of do an event.
Hmm.
Um,
So what is your growth goals? Like what are your growth goals for like say the next 6 months?
yeah. So over the next 6 months, the big thing right now, like not a whole lot of people go out in the winter, not as many as go out in the summer. So like right now our spring, summer, and starting to get into the fall are getting filled up. Something I'm excited about is kind of refining that ideal client profile, of
Mhm.
finding like the exact right fit for us and someone for whom we are also the right fit. We've refined that quite a bit to the point where we've been able to, we've had to say no to some folks that like we do not think that this is going to be a great fit. So I'm excited about that. And if you were to ask me like, hey, at the end of the year, looking back, were you successful? I would look at like rate every client we had on a scale of 1 to 10 for like how good of a fit was this.
Mm.
Um, I think that's something that's super important as a business is finding that right, like your niche. Who do you serve better than anyone else? Um, and so like I'm real excited about paying attention to that through this year.
And now my last question for you, Tyler. If we had a magic wand and there's one thing that you would want to fix in that's happening right now, what would that be?
In the business or in the
Yeah,
world?
in the business, one challenge that you'd have what like one
Yeah.
number one challenge you'd want to fix right now, what would that be? We could
So
go down a rabbit hole in the world. So
oh, I'm sure
we're not
like
gonna go there.
all kinds of stuff out there. Something I'm really excited about, and like I love the question, like if you could just like wave a wand and make it different. Like I'm also very interested in what are you doing to get that wand to wave, given that you don't have a magic wand. So like this is something that like hey, I'll be a little vulnerable for me coming out of a 20-year plus career in the Army. You don't spend, especially not where I was, like you don't spend a whole lot of time thinking about the dollars and cents and the budget and the business side of things. And I couldn't spell P&L when I got out of the Army. Like had no idea what a balance sheet was, things like that. So like truly understanding the kind of like the business side of things and like how those work um, is is something that like man, like I wish I could just like like download that knowledge. The the joke I make is I often feel, and I imagine most small business owners or anyone who's an entrepreneur feels like this. You feel like doggone Danny LaRusso in The Karate Kid trying to learn karate out of a book before he meets his mentor in Mr.
Right.
Miyagi, right?
Mhm.
So like you get that feeling like, man, I'm just trying to figure it out. I don't know if any of this stuff works, but so learning the business, like the no kidding business side of things, ton like tons of experience a lot of hard lessons learned in leading high-performing teams. But learning the business side of things is something that's like I could just stick a download into my brain. To fix that though, like I've been deliberate this year about trying to find some high quality mentors. Try to find my own Mr. Miyagi, and have had through networking on LinkedIn, folks that have been very generous with their time to meet regularly, give feedback, and be a sounding board for ideas. And I'm super excited that I'm going to start an MBA program in the fall to like get some business fundamentals and um, to go along with the strength that we have in team and leader development.
Congratulations on your
Thank
MBA
you.
program. Yeah, that's exciting. And I couldn't agree more. Always learning, always growing, and surrounding yourself with community is really, really important. And you use the word multiple times, vulnerable, being vulnerable, asking for help. I know for me, that was one of my biggest struggles when I started my business. It's still a constant thing that I have to get to work on. It's like asking
Mhm.
for help. We can't do this alone. And if you try to do it alone, you're going to struggle. And that's why you need Cairn Leadership, because they bring your team together with fun but purposeful activities that are going to get the growth that you want inside of your business. So, Tyler, how can people connect with you?
Yeah, so cairnleadership.com on the website, like we'd like to think that the website is well designed so you can like see kind of like this is what it might look like if our team went out together. I'm on LinkedIn, would love to connect with anyone who is just interested in what we do. We post regularly there. We do have an email distro, two emails a month. One is typically focused around actionable things you can do in a certain topic, and the other is books and resources on that topic. Those are the only emails that we send out. There's no other marketing spammy type stuff. So that like those are the places where like if you want to engage with what we're putting out there, that where you can find us, the website, LinkedIn, and on our email distro. And yeah, but like I'd love to connect with you personally for anyone who's listening to this and is interested in what we do and love to have a chat.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Tyler. So make sure that you connect with him. Let him know you heard him on the Business Growth Spotlight podcast. Would appreciate that. And but definitely connect with Tyler on LinkedIn. As you've heard, he's amazing. He's awesome, super personable, vulnerable, and easy to talk to. And definitely can get you any of the information that you need especially if you want to learn more about how to work with Cairn Leadership. Tyler, thank you so much for your time. This has been so much fun and incredible, and I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to spend a little time with us today.
Yeah, thanks so much, Heidi. Glad that we could be here together.
Absolutely. Thank you. And if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, please leave us a review. If you're watching Tyler and I on YouTube, please subscribe. And when you connect with Tyler, let him know you heard him here. Reach out to him on LinkedIn, also cairnleadership.com, correct?
Yep, that's
.com.
it.
Okay. cairnleadership.com. We will also have all of Tyler's links and ways to contact and connect with him, as well as his bio. You can learn more about him in the show notes. If you're looking to up level your visibility and be seen in the market as the authority and go-to expert to drive more leads and revenue, then go ahead and go download your free Spotlight to Scale blueprint. You can go grab it at spotlighttoscale.com/blueprint. Thank you again, Tyler. Thank you all for listening. Make sure you go connect with Tyler, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Business Growth Spotlight podcast.